In the first part of our series on the American Revolution, we explored the growing tensions between the American colonies and the British government in the years leading up to the war. We covered key events such as the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act, the Boston Massacre, and the Boston Tea Party, which fueled resentment and resistance among the colonists, and concluded with the battles of Lexington and Concord in April 1775, which marked the beginning of the armed conflict. Let's now begin Part 2 with the Siege of Boston and the Battle of Bunker Hill. Following the battles of Lexington and Concord, colonial militiamen laid siege to Boston, where British troops were stationed. On June 17, 1775, the British launched an assault on the colonists' positions at Bunker Hill and Breed's Hill. Although the British ultimately took the hills, they suffered heavy casualties, demonstrating the colonists' resolve and skill in battle. In May 1775, delegates from the colonies convened the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia. The Congress took on the role of a provisional government, managing colonial affairs and coordinating the war effort. They also established the Continental Army and appointed George Washington as its commander-in-chief. In an attempt to secure the northern border and persuade Canada to join the Revolution, the Continental Army launched an invasion of Quebec in late 1775. Despite initial successes, such as the capture of Fort Ticonderoga and Montreal, the campaign ultimately failed after the Battle of Quebec in December 1775. In March 1776, Continental Army troops managed to fortify Dorchester Heights overlooking Boston, threatening the British position in the city. Outmaneuvered, the British decided to evacuate Boston and sailed for Halifax, Nova Scotia. This marked a significant victory for the colonists and boosted morale. On July 4, 1776, the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, formally severing ties with Britain and establishing the United States of America. The document, primarily written by Thomas Jefferson, outlined the colonists' grievances against King George III and asserted the colony's right to self-governance. In the summer of 1776, the British launched a major offensive aimed at capturing New York City. The Battle of Long Island, fought on August 27th, was a significant defeat for the Continental Army. George Washington managed to save his troops by orchestrating a daring nighttime retreat across the East River to Manhattan. Following a series of defeats in New York, the Continental Army was in a precarious position. In a bold move, George Washington launched a surprise attack on Hessian mercenaries at Trenton, New Jersey, on December 26, 1776. This victory, followed by another at Princeton on January 3, 1777, greatly boosted American morale and kept the Revolution alive. In 1777, British General John Burgoyne launched an ambitious campaign to isolate New England from the other colonies. However, his plan was thwarted by American victories at the battles of Saratoga in September and October. These victories marked a turning point in the war as they convinced France to formally ally with the United States. Following the Saratoga campaign, the Continental Army set up winter quarters at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. The winter was harsh, with the troops facing food shortages, disease, and a lack of proper clothing and shelter. Despite these hardships, the Army emerged from Valley Forge as a more disciplined and effective fighting force, thanks in part to the training provided by Prussian officer Baron von Steuben. In June 1778, the Continental Army intercepted the British as they were withdrawing from Philadelphia to New York. The resulting Battle of Monmouth ended in a draw, but it demonstrated the improved skills and discipline of the American troops. Later that year, French forces arrived in North America, providing much-needed military support to the American cause. Frustrated by the stalemate in the North, the British shifted their focus to the southern colonies. They captured Savannah, Georgia in 1778 and launched a successful siege of Charleston, South Carolina in 1780. The fall of Charleston was a major blow to the Americans, as it allowed the British to gain control of much of the South. In March 1781, American General Nathanael Greene engaged British forces under Lord Cornwallis at Guilford Courthouse, North Carolina. Although the British won the battle, They suffered heavy casualties and were forced to retreat to Wilmington. From there, Cornwallis decided to move his army to Virginia, setting the stage for the decisive Battle of Yorktown. In September 1781, American and French forces converged on Yorktown, Virginia, where Cornwallis had established his base. The Allies laid siege to the town, cutting off British supply lines and bombarding their positions. On October 19, 1781, Cornwallis surrendered his army, effectively ending major combat operations in North America. Although the British surrender at Yorktown marked the end of significant fighting, it took 2 more years to formally conclude the war. In September 1783, the United States and Britain signed the Treaty of Paris, which recognized American independence, established the boundaries of the new nation, and settled various issues related to the conflict. The American Revolution was a transformative event that reshaped the political, social, and economic landscape of the 18th century. Through a combination of skilled leadership, international support, and the determination of the American people, the colonies were able to break free from British rule and establish a new nation founded on the principles of liberty and self-governance. The legacy of the American Revolution continues to inspire people around the world who seek freedom and independence. So that wraps up our dive into the American Revolution. If you missed part 1, I'll leave a link in the description. Stay tuned for our next episode where we go deep into the Mongol Empire with part 1 of a new 3-part series. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Thanks for watching History Reforged.